right, here we go. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So if you can see the bell, we'll start the meeting. Well, that was kind of muted. Let's fix that. There we go. All right, welcome to the our Friday Sherwood Rotary Club meeting. Better than a raccoon. Any guesses where this one's going? No?
It should be going for a walk on the road.
I don't know.
Anyways.
I think Caddyshack, but that's the wrong animal.
No, that would be a gopher. Nope. We're
Something about washing your hands and wearing a mask.
Oh, someone is. Anyways, we'll say hello to the raccoon, not to be confused with Rocket. Rocket was not a raccoon, for those Avenger fans. But I decided, among some other people on the internet, that the raccoon should be our official pandemic mascot. And you might be wondering why. Well, first of all, and someone just stole my thunder. We'll talk about that later. They always wear a mask, correct? They compulsively wash their hands, which is another good attribute for being in this pandemic. So I thought they were a worthy candidate to be our official mascot. And the best part of this is if you rearrange the letters, guess what?
No.
Corona.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that one surprised me too. So anyways, that's our official mascot moving forward. Just thought you guys would like to know.
So our neighbor has a raccoon with 2 kits in a hole in their maple tree.
Do you want them to go walk out on the road too?
Yep.
Okay, just checking. All right, anyway, so let's move forward with Pledge of Allegiance this morning. Today, I found a video of some U.S. Air Force folks. For those of you who don't know, I was in the Air Force way back when, so I thought they could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. So if you're all ready, here we will go.
Good afternoon. Please join me in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Anyway, again, welcome to the meeting this morning. Gary, I believe you're inspiring us today.
That's what I heard too. Okay, here we go. I've got a quote from a former president that actually, on second reading, is probably pretty appropriate. The struggle now going on in the world will never be decided by bombs or rockets, by armies or military might. The real crisis we face today is a spiritual one. At root, it is a trust of morale, will, and faith.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. All right, let's go back to sharing the screen.
Well, now, wait a second. You can't leave it at that. Which president?
That's why I left that part off, because I thought you would pick up on it.
Darn right, because Tim was going to blow past it.
It's Ronald Reagan.
Reagan. There you go. Thanks.
Ronald Reagan. Reagan was my commander-in-chief when I was in the Air Force. All right. I think we have one guest that no, Wendy, do we have a, I think we might have we have 2 guests. Wendy, do we have a guest?
Yes, I believe Callie is joining us from Germany this morning.
Welcome,
Morning, Callie.
Callie.
Got to unmute, say hi.
Hi, I'm Callie. I'm from Germany. Yeah, I'm 15 years old. Yes.
Welcome.
So
Welcome.
awesome.
Thanks for
Welcome.
joining us.
Hello.
Willkommen.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I think we have of course, we have our speaker on the phone as well. I don't think we have any other guests this morning. Wendy, any youth exchange update you can give us? Or I'm sorry, Lynette, anniversaries.
Nope, we don't have any this week.
Okay, great. Youth exchange update, Wendy.
I don't really have anything to share at this time, I don't think. And I don't know that Levi was able to join us today. And I don't think Matthew's on the line. So thank goodness Callie was able to join us. I appreciate her doing that.
What time is it in Germany right now?
It's 4 p.m.
Ah. Hey,
Happy
Callie,
hour.
Kelly, if you rearrange the letters of raccoon in German, does it spell corona? I guess not.
No.
No, but it's 4 o'clock there, so you're okay to have a beer now, Doug.
Yeah,
It's not
happy hour.
16 yet.
And I've got my day off. I'm gonna raise a beer to Callie. There you go.
Awesome. Well, again, welcome, Callie, to the meeting. Let's see here. Youth Exchange Club announcements. Let's keep going, rolling forward here. The list is getting smaller. There's a board meeting on the 1st. Again, Peace Committee meeting on the 1st.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There is a board meeting on the 8th. That following Monday. Again, everyone, you're all welcome to join us, and it's very easy to join us now that it's a Zoom meeting, so anyone who would like to attend, just let me know and I'll get you an invite. And then Renee wanted us to put in here that grant applications are due by 6/19 for this year's round of grants. The board met earlier this month because for several reasons, mainly because we haven't been doing a lot of activities that require us to spend money as a club. We're going to have a pretty large ending balance, almost $15,000 on the club budget. We're going to keep 5 of that to roll over into the next year for cash flow and all those fun things. Just make sure we have enough money. But the remainder of it, we're going to split up 2 ways. We're going to take a portion of that, about $2,000, and create a fund for members who might need help with dues next year due to COVID, if they're out of work or something like that. So there'll be more to come on that. And then the remainder of it, we're going to kick over to the foundation, because we didn't do a fundraiser this year, to help bolster the foundation's bank account, so we can do grants this year like we normally would. And then Ben, do you want to give a quick update on the foundation board meeting that we had?
Let's see. I think we agreed to allocate $20,000 for grants for this year. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we did. We did $20,000 plus there's $15,000 of rollover for the international projects,
which was already committed.
Which was already committed. So for the total, it'll be about $35,000, which is actually close to what we did last year. So fortunately, we had a lot of rainy day money in the foundation account, and so we'll be able to continue to do our grants this year, and we'll just build it back up.
Hey, Tim, I have a really dumb question.
Yes.
Who do I email the grant to? Their grant application to?
Renee.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, email those to Renee. So
And
anyway,
does that 20,000 include the 8,000?
Yes. So that would include the 8,000. Yes. So if we did our math right, that should leave 45,000 in the foundation account when we're done, assuming we don't conjure up a different fundraiser this year.
We got a question for Jamie. Jamie, do
Yes.
you have this current year's grant request form?
Yes, I do. Well, I think I do. Do you want to send it to me again? I don't
have it.
Okay.
So I was hoping that you did, and then you could send it to me.
Why don't,
So-
Okay,
why
I'll
don't we
send.
post that stuff up on the website so you can search for and get it? If somebody gives it to me now, I'll just put it up there right now.
So
Well, I think Renee attempted to send one out, but it was not attached to her
Ah.
email.
uh,
And I think that she meant to send it out again, but life is challenging. So I'll send a note. I can send a note to Renee, but I just
Okay.
thought maybe Jamie had found it, and because I couldn't find it.
I talked to Renee yesterday and she said that she's going to try and log on to the Zoom meeting today, but it might be at the end.
well, maybe we can ask her at the end, and I'll reach out to Renee today too, and see if she can resend that, and at a minimum try to get a copy of it, and I'll get it to Doug so we can get it on the website and get it out to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right. And then one quick announcement. Neil sent us a nice note. He's in the middle of his chemotherapy, which I think most of you know is a regular thing he has to do every once in a while, and everything's going well. He says he has a great medical team. He's very happy with how things are proceeding, and just wanted to let all of you know that. Any other announcements that I missed? All right, we will move forward. All right, the Sergeant of the Arms, would you like to lead us through the brags?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Once I call your name, I'll give you a few seconds to unmute yourself. I'm going to start at the bottom of my list here. So, Maureen, you're up first.
Hi, everybody. My oldest daughter is coming back from Klamath Falls. She hasn't been home in 3.5 months after moving down there right before the coronavirus started. So she's extremely excited to come back home and see her cat. Probably not so much us. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But we're excited to see her. So just wishing you all a happy Memorial Day weekend.
Awesome. Thank you. Chuck, do you have anything this morning?
So I'm going to brag on a guy by the name of Irv Townsend, who evidently about 40 years ago, he was a buddy of my dad's, and he flew a Cessna, and he had a friend that wanted to go take a look at Mount St. Helens. So he called up my dad and he said, hey, I've got 2 extra seats. And if you and your kid want to come along, you can come along and we'll go fly over Mount St. Helens. And that was 2 weeks ago, 40 years and 2 weeks ago. And it was the day that the last 3 climbers that climbed the original Mount St. Helens, or before it blew, were up on top. So I have this grainy Kodak Discman photograph of the last 3 people to climb the original Mount St. Helens, all due to my good buddy Irving.
No, that's cool. Bruce, do you have anything this morning?
Oh, I think probably it's not really a brag, but I'm just excited. My wife is moving here, or at least I'm driving with her here. So I'm very excited about that. That won't be to early June, but I don't know if that's considered a brag or not. Anyway, everybody have a happy Memorial Day.
Bruce, I have a question. Once your wife's here, are you going to be able to work the same amount of hours you've been working?
I never had a problem with that in other jobs, but I haven't said that to her yet. I have to do this gradually.
Yes.
Thanks. You might be happy about it, but we got to find out if she's happy about it.
That's right.
Hey, Jamie, do you have anything this morning?
Okay. I can't think of anything this morning, but just have a great Memorial Day weekend, everybody.
All right, thank you. Maya, do you have anything for us this morning?
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to Bruce for saving us. He was able to get me connected with someone at Business Oregon, I think. Anyway, they had put us on a list for PPE and rendered our telephones unusable with the amount of people calling us. So Bruce saved the day and got us off the list. So I'm super grateful for that. And then also, I just want to say that this week I've been able to start adding things to my calendar, which is the first time in months that I've been adding stuff instead of taking off stuff that I missed. And so I'm super excited about that. Most importantly, there's a camel that lives in Wilsonville. So I found out about the camel, I guess 5 years ago, and started searching for him. I wanted to go, if there's a camel, I thought I got to go meet the camel. So I finally figured out he actually lives on my street. But just about the time that I figured out where he lived, they shut the farm down to visits. And that's been a couple of years now. But on Monday, they're actually having a one-day drive-through safari where you can meet the camel on Monday. So that's the first thing that's going on my calendar. So I'm excited to be able to add that.
That's so cool.
That is cool.
Can you share that location?
Yeah, I will. I have the name of the farm, so.
Maybe Doug can put it on the website.
Okay. Well, I don't want a crowd at the camel. No, I'm kidding. I'll wait in line. It's fine. I'll send it.
Yeah, I'm not putting no stinking link on a website, for God's sakes.
All right, thank you, Maya. Jane, do you have anything this morning?
Did you say Jane?
Yes, I did.
I couldn't hear. The sound fluctuates. I'm celebrating that the library won its levy. I'm excited that we're having a library advisory meeting today, right? And I had to learn Microsoft Teams, which is some way of doing video conferencing. So
horrible. We call that horrible.
I didn't want to learn anything new. I'm telling you, I didn't, but I think I better. So I'm very happy the library levy passed.
Thank you. Good morning, Callie. Would you like to share anything else with us this morning?
Not really. Just have a great day, weekend.
Thank you. Lynn, do you have anything?
Oh, let's see. I'll just brag on my daughter. She had surgery last Friday. She's doing really well, healing up. She's got 6 weeks short-term disability from work. So my dog is really, really happy. And I am too, because he is.
I hope she gets better soon. Gary, do you have anything this morning?
Nothing really to brag about, just welcome to summer. Nobody look out the window this morning, but it's officially here, isn't it?
No, I don't think official summer starts till June 20th, 22nd, somewhere around there.
Memorial Day is when summer starts.
You're a month early.
Actually, I think in Wisconsin it starts on the 4th of July.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it runs till like August 5th or 6th. I think
does that coincide with the mosquito season in Wisconsin?
Yeah. Well, that starts in April and lasts till October. All right. Verity, do you have anything this morning?
Not a lot. Happy to be at work and happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Lynette, do you have anything this morning?
Sure. I just wanted to welcome Callie and brag on her for, we've been messaging through Snapchat this week. So it's been fun to get to know her. Also, I remember when I was a kid in Tigard that summer didn't start until 4th of July. It would rain all through June. It'd be rare that it was sunny in June. That was a gift if it was. So things have definitely changed.
All right, thank you. Ben, do you have anything this morning?
Sure. I was interested, I thought it was interesting that Chuck referred to the original Mount St. Helens. And it reminded me that after the eruption, we took a charter flight over the crater, and my nephew was visiting. So we took him along. There were 3 of us in the Cessna, and we bought him a ticket, and he fell asleep as we were flying over the crater. And I was totally enthralled by the damage and by the new Spirit Lake and the logs, and have not had the same relationship with my nephew since then.
That's too funny. Fred, do you have anything this morning?
Well, I'm Ben's nephew. And I just wanted to say hello to Callie and welcome her. Not all these people are hard to get along with. There's a couple of them I'll tell you about, but welcome. We hope you enjoy Sherwood.
Awesome. Karen, do you have anything this morning?
Well, we'll also welcome to Cali, and hoping to go biking this weekend now that the Banks Vernonia Trail is open finally.
Awesome. Jeff, do you have anything this morning?
Sure. First of all, welcome to Cali. Just as an FYI, my daughter was an exchange student in Germany. So when you get here, if you want somebody to chat in German with, you got somebody. I want to brag on Darby. Most of you know he led a road cleanup a couple of weeks ago. And in all of our excitement, we did a great job of cleaning up the road. We forgot we have a second road that we're responsible for. So last weekend, Darby called and he and I went down and we cleaned up our second road. So we fulfilled our responsibilities. So thank you, Darby.
Awesome. Mark, do you have anything this morning?
Thanks. I want to join Jane in not only celebrating the library levy, but celebrating passage of the Washington County Public Safety Levy, and some good news in the town to our north. Tigard passed a public safety levy that's going to allow them to hire like another 8 or 9 public safety officers. So in that sense, it was a good Tuesday.
I agree. Thank you. Doug, do you have anything this morning?
Oh, all right. This is going to take a few minutes. Everyone just relax. Kidding. I'm going to start off with, I'm absolutely thrilled that Callie's on. It's so never happened before where we actually got to meet you before you came. And whoever you're looking at on the screen, just look at Fred Byman and be very careful of that Mr. Gentleman, okay? And we don't want to throw anyone else out there. Got it? I want to compliment Jane. Jane, I don't know how much you know how much I appreciate you, but you're the most voracious learner I know. I mean, you are crazy mad at doing that, and it's noticeable. So I want to compliment you on that. My wife.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. My wife came back on Wednesday, was able to catch an earlier flight in the day. Otherwise, it would have been one of those midnight lands. So, so first of all, wife is on one piece. And so that's a very good thing. Second thing, and I don't think I've said it in front of the whole group, bits and pieces, of course, but my son, who was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, has gone through his second round of chemotherapy. The first round was horrible and didn't make for a happy wife and didn't make for a happy Doug. So my son, who is not near as stubborn as I am, of course, doesn't know how to talk to a doctor. So the way you solve those problems is you stick a mom in the middle of it. And she was able to get in, talk to the doctor, and knock a little sense into a young man's head. And round 2 of chemo was intensely better than the first. Chemo sucks, not saying it's a great experience, but by comparison, it was so much more tolerable than the first round. So the trend is our friend here. For those of you that don't know about Hodgkin's lymphoma, an extremely curable form of cancer. And then that brings all my drama to a head, and there's my update.
Thank you, Doug. I hope he feels better soon and kicks this cancer's ass. Wendy, do you have anything this morning?
Yes, again, grateful that Callie was able to join us this morning. That was very special. And Doug, I'm so glad that Stuart's doing well. And are you guys going camping over the long weekend, or do you have to work? I mean, isn't Memorial Weekend one of your big camping weekends?
Totally off work. I need 4 days. I'm going nutso. So I'm going to just take it and relax. Hot tub time.
Wonderful. You deserve it.
Thank you, Wendy. Joe, do you have anything this morning?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry I was late. I'm just excited because besides being in virtual meetings all day, Fridays, we have lots of check-ins around the state. We're planning to get the details to reopen the tennis courts, to reopen the dog park, to reopen the skate park probably tomorrow. Many of our neighboring cities are doing the same thing. Continuing to try to figure out with all the businesses in Old Town how to reopen 503 and Fat Milo's and Mason and others, and allow them to use the cities right away so they can open with the same numbers. So I'm excited because we're trying to work hard on reopening things rather than closing things. So that's a refreshing change. So stay tuned.
It's good to hear it, Joe. Renee, did you have anything this morning?
No, not really. I'm driving.
Okay. Tim, why don't you take us home?
Unmute. Great. So I just have a couple of quick things. Nice. Thank you for the segue, Joe. I just a shout out to the city staff. We had our first budget meeting last night, so we got updates from all the departments on what's been going on, and I'm just so amazed and so proud of our city and what they've done during this COVID pandemic. I mean, Bruce and economic development has been hitting on all cylinders, and that's still moving forward. We're still, the permitting and engineering departments are still running strong. We're getting a lot of activity. The public works department has been taking advantage of all the buildings being closed to catch up on tons of maintenance throughout all the buildings. So they've been making lemonade out of lemons during this process and doing a great job. So thank you to everyone at the city who's been working so hard. I was also going to do a quick shout out to my wife. Right as the school year is ending, she has the homeschooling thing mastered. It's like a well-oiled machine here every day. I don't think my kids appreciate it as much as I do, but it's been going well. And then the last thing.
Are you open to new enrollments? I have a 12-year-old that would fit right in.
With the social distancing requirements, I don't think we can fit you. Sorry.
We'll let him sit outside. He can just.
And then the last thing, just a reminder: next Wednesday, May 27th at 4:33 p.m. Turn your TV on. NASA and SpaceX. Big shout out to SpaceX, especially, are launching Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station. So it's the first time we've launched manned missions from American soil since, I think, 2011 during the last shuttle mission. And one of these astronauts was on that last shuttle mission. So pretty cool. So if you have a chance to tune in and watch that. So that's all I got. All right, so we will move on. Unless there's anybody else, Mike, are we done? All right. All right, so we'll move on to our program this morning. And we have the folks from our table here joining us this morning to tell us a little bit about what they do. I'm gonna mess up your name, and so I'm gonna apologize up front. Is it Narendra?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect.
Oh, wow, how did I do that? That's
phonetic.
That's awesome. Anyways, he's here to talk a little bit about their what they do out there. For any of you who haven't been out there, I go out there occasionally to pick up some stuff. It's a great place. I encourage everyone to visit. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I've made you co-host, and go ahead and begin.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being a part of this and the opportunity. So I'm going to start with a little bit of sort of background about myself. I spent most of my sort of pre-farmer life as a technology guy working at Microsoft in Seattle. And this was during the sort of go-go 90s when you just had to be sitting in a seat at the right time, and you got a windfall of financial windfall. So that was kind of the situation that I found myself in, a little bit to my surprise, and became very interested in how people with financial resources like I had suddenly come into could, you know, put those to work, so to speak. And I got involved in the sort of the national slow money movement, which is really about trying to figure out how to take investment capital and help it to build local communities rather than just chasing yield in the sort of the more nebulous capital markets. I really enjoy eating and really like food. So for me, kind of for both my wife and I, food was really important. And the other thing that really was driving us was a desire for community. And I really feel like there's this kind of holy nexus between food and community universally for all human beings. We all really like to, you know, share food with other people and break bread with other people. And it really just seems to be something that everybody attaches to. So we decided to kind of go whole hog and bet the farm, which we didn't have. So we moved down here to the Portland area, mostly because of the land use system in Oregon, which allowed us to kind of put together a farm, to be on a farm and still be close to an urban core where, of course, the eating public happens to be. And as a result, we purchased a farm right here outside of Sherwood, and I'll show you a little picture a little later on. But just a little bit of background as to what was kind of animating my thinking. Obviously, the sort of the thing that when we think of the food system today, well, maybe not because of, after COVID, maybe some of this has changed, but certainly before COVID, was this kind of larger industrial food system that we've had for the last about approximately 100 years. And it's done some really good things. I want to acknowledge that. But it also has certain problems that I think need to be looked at a little more carefully. Most importantly to me, it tends to kind of devalue people, soil, and communities. We all know that our rural communities have really been decimated over the last 100 years and have really been kind of left behind in many ways. Similarly, our soil has really been mined for nutrients and life and has been left behind. And some of the myths that I like to kind of talk about when I talk about this, the kind of the present system that we have, is that the number of calories it takes to grow the food that we grow today is larger than the number of calories that come out of that system. So it takes, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say it takes 2 calories to produce 1 calorie of food, so 2 calories of energy. And that obviously is not sustainable just mathematically. The other problem with it is that agriculture is a major contributor to climate change, one of the largest contributors on the planet today. And another myth that, because we always hear about how, you know, we need industrial scale food in order to feed the world. Well, industrial scale food today only feeds 30% of the globe's population. And that's an interesting kind of statistic. In America specifically, our farmer population is aging. Ben, I'm looking at you, sorry. And really the average is about 57 plus. This is a few years old. It's probably closer to 60 by now. And that's a real issue as well, of course. And as we've discovered in the last few months, this food system is really not very resilient because it has focused almost exclusively on efficiency as defined in a very narrow sense. And that efficiency has really hurt our ability to feed ourselves during a time of crisis when certain infrastructure and things and assumptions broke down. And then I like this picture at the bottom because just because it's fun to kind of pick on, it's easy to pick on a national fast food chain, I guess, is that salad on the left-hand side has more fat, sugar, and calories than that quadruple patty burger. And that is not something that if you showed me these 2 pictures, I would not make that assumption at all, but that is really the case. So there's a lot of kind of misunderstanding about what we're eating and what it's doing to our health and you know, where the costs and benefits really lie. Anyway, I won't dig in too much more into that. So we really started thinking about, you know, this idea of kind of closing loops. And how do you take these kind of big, large global problems like the food system and think about solutions? Obviously, they seem daunting for an individual or even a community to kind of tackle at a global scale. And I'm a huge believer in kind of human scale, place-based solutions, partly because I figure that we are all suffer from hubris and we all make mistakes. And it's a heck of a lot better to make a small mistake than a big giant mistake. So I really like kind of this idea of starting small and starting with a place-based solution where we can have relationships with people. One of my heroes, Wendell Berry, the author and farmer, said that really the solution is to build economies that are based on local people, local nature, as in place-based, contemporary energy, so a less of a reliance on fossil energy, and local capital defined in a very broad way. So that's what we really kind of set out to do in 2010 when my family and I moved down here, and try and sort of just throw our hat into the ring and figure out what we could do around community scale food. Now, there's a lot of opportunity as well. Because of that aging farmer population, the majority of US farmland is going to change hands in the next couple of decades, okay? And as we all know, most of the older farmers who own farmland in this country, their kids are not really interested in coming back and farming. They've been, in fact, encouraging their kids their whole lives to leave the farm and do something else. So that really opens up a very interesting opportunity as to what does this next generation of farmers look like. And I think there's a huge opportunity for a new generation of young folks to practice a different kind of farming. We all know that soil carbon and capturing carbon in the soil is a huge win-win for climate change and for our health and nutrition as well. So it really helps everybody. So we set out to kind of essentially reimagine the food system. We started with a set of values. You know, I always like to say taste is the most important because I like eating. And at the end of the day, although food is nutrition and you can think of it as fuel for our bodies, et cetera, it's so much more than that. If eating is a pleasurable act, and if it's not pleasurable, you're doing something wrong. I'm just going to say that, you know, to start with. We are super place-based, so everything we do is about Oregon and kind of coming from our local area. Honesty, transparency, you know, those are some of the values. I'm not going to go too much deeper into this because I want to jump into the structure that we created to embody these values. The idea was, how do we take an entire community of people, just this local community, and how do we create a community scale food system to help to feed those people? Okay, so we start with a farm, and we have a 60-acre farm right outside Sherwood, which I'm going to show you in a second. We know that we can't grow everything that we want to eat as a community on this farm. So we go out and we find other farmers and food producers in the region. Ben happens to be one of them. And these are independent folks, and we bring them to the table and we aggregate their product into our mix. We know that there has to be a retail component. People have got to buy this food somehow, whether that's a grocery store, and we have a full service grocery store on our farm, CSAs, which are kind of a subscription service, where you get a little share of the harvest every week during the summer mostly, farmers markets, other kind, restaurants, of course, all of that kind of stuff. And then we also know that not everybody is going to cook everything at home, so there's a certain amount of processing that has to be done. And again, we have a commercial kitchen on our farm that produces a variety of sort of prepared foods. And then all of that kind of centers around the people who are eating, which is the entire community naturally. And if you look at this picture, you see that there's a lot of different people involved. It's not just farmers and eaters and grocery store clerks, but there's delivery drivers and bookkeepers and accountants, and you know, there's the entire sort of ecosystem of people making all of this happen. And we felt that we really wanted a system where all of those people had a voice and an equal say at the table, or a seat at the table anyway. So we created a very unique business structure, and we are a for-profit business, I'll say that up front, which is a multi-stakeholder cooperative. So all of the people that are involved in this picture are owners of this business, are co-owners of this business, legal owners. They have a seat at the table, they have a say, and they share in the profits and the losses, okay? So it's a community scale food system owned by the community. Now, to kind of put this all in perspective a bit, we are based on a farm. So just, I don't know, can you see my pointer moving around?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Morgan Road over here, just to kind of give you a little sense of geography. Sherwood's over there, okay, and this is Baker Road right here. So we're on a 60-acre farm right between sort of Morgan and Baker. Right in the middle of this circle here is a rotary peace pole, so thank you for that. That's a very central element for us. And this is our main kind of growing area over here. So 60 acres right outside, just a couple of miles outside of downtown. And are kind of most of the people who we try and feed and who kind of come to us for food are really residents of the sort of, let's say, 3 to 4 zip codes right around the farms. And of course, 97140, and then the Wilsonville 97070, and then a couple of sort of Tiger 12 and then Newburgh zip codes. So in that sense, I feel really, really great because we really, this piece of ground, which is in our neighborhood, is feeding our neighborhood. And that's a really beautiful thing in my world. So just a few more photos of the farm, just some of the folks who work here. We have about 21 employees. About 12 of them are farmers. We grow everything from vegetables to berries to edible flowers. A lot of the food goes out to restaurants, or at least used to pre-COVID, and also goes directly to consumer through our co-op store. And this is a little picture of our store, which is on our farm. It's a full service grocery store. You can kind of get everything you need, from chocolate bars to wine to meats and vegetables and grains, etc. It is mostly locally grown, so over 80% of what we carry is sourced from Oregon. Okay, this is just a picture of our produce case. Almost everything, over 90% of it, is either certified organic or equivalent. Not a lot of farmers choose to certify, but it's all about the kind of the standards and the quality of the food that they're growing. And really, when I think of organic, I don't just think of, pesticides and things like that, but I also think about the farm workers, because the folks who suffer most from heavy pesticide use are the people applying the pesticides. Because they are exposed, of course, to much larger quantities than those of us who are just eating the food. So for us, it's very important for the health of the people who are growing the food, and super, super important for the health of the soil, because of course, these chemicals tend to kind of destroy life in the soil, which in the long term is not a good thing. In the short term, it can certainly help your crop. There's no question about that. It's really, our store is really based about relationships. Our storekeepers tend to know by name most of the people who come here. We know your likes and dislikes, and I like to kind of say that we're sort of the opposite of the Amazon experience, because it's really about sort of reaching out and touching you, although with social distancing, that's hard, and knowing and having that relationship. So it's really an experience and not just in and out. And at the end of the day, it's all based around community. This is just a picture of some folks eating some pizza outside. On Fridays, we generally do a happy hour. Again, this is pre-COVID, where we fire up our pizza oven in the summer times, and in the winter time, we just kind of produce a little hot menu out of our kitchen, just mostly to bring the community together around food, which is critical to us. Some successes and challenges. I think the community has been amazingly supportive for the past 7 or 8 years that we've been here. People have really been amazing in this community, and I'm always grateful for that. The business itself has slowly grown and is sort of trending towards in the right directions. Well, the farm was profitable in 2019, and the store was not. But we're hoping that by 2020, all of that will break even. And then, of course, COVID-19 has really focused a spotlight on local food systems and some of the advantages of being able to source your food locally and to support your local community while doing so. So I'll just leave you with a little quote that I really like. A guy by the name of Lord Northbourne from the early 20th century in England said that we have tried to conquer nature by force and by intellect. It now remains for us to try the way of love. And that really is the thing that animates us. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, Narendra, thank you. That was incredibly informative. I'm curious, and I would hope that you're not radically impacted, but as far as just this whole COVID shutdown thing, when it comes to the farm and the business, how has that affected you? Has that been more or less not affecting you, or a lot?
Well, so ironically, at some level, we are a business that is set up around the principle of resilience comes from diversity, right? Which is almost the opposite of what you learn in business school in terms of efficiency, because in business school, we're all taught about how, focus and doing one thing really well makes you most efficient at that thing. But of course, the flip side of that is that you're not always very resilient. So what has happened with COVID is that our business has almost doubled, because as the sort of the larger scale food system had trouble supplying grocery stores in the kind of volumes that people needed, local farmers and things were able to kind of pick up that slack.
I so was hoping you were going to say that. I was hopeful. That's pretty encouraging.
So now we've closed our store to walk-in customers because it's such a small space that we didn't feel we could keep staff and such customers safe. And we've flipped to being completely online, which goes completely against everything I believe in terms of community and food. But at least it's allowed us to continue to feed our community, especially the most vulnerable members of the community in terms of, with COVID, as we all know, older folks are really at the highest risk, and people with pre-existing conditions, et cetera. So the ability for them to be able to order food online and to come and do a no-touch pickup has been really amazing. And I think folks have been really, really grateful to have that local option, because even if you go to the bigger grocery stores, a lot of them have long waiting times around online deliveries. There's some little kid who's going and doing your shopping for you and then bringing your food to you. And you don't really know how to trust that person. Whereas in our case, the way we're doing things online is that it's our staff who's actually going and picking your groceries. It's a little inefficient financially for us, frankly, but it does mean that there's a sense of confidence that the people who are backing your groceries are the people who kind of help to grow it and know it best.
I have a question. How do I get in touch with you?
Well, ordinarily I would say, come on by, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
But, we have a website, ourtable.us. I'll put it on the chat, for everyone. So you can go sort of check that out. And we do usually focus quite a lot, as I was saying, on trying to bring the community together with events and things like that. Although it's a very small part of our business, it's a big part of our kind of interaction. But again, now it's really more about thinking about how do we get food into our local community from, local farmers. And as I said, it's not just about what we grow. It's, there's 16 other farms who are involved in this, including Ben's and others. And then we also do get food from other local producers. I mean, you might have seen in some of those pictures, there were chocolate bars. I mean, nobody here in Oregon is making those chocolate bars, but we're sourcing them, from other co-ops, from people who we know share our values. And that I can say that, I know that this sense of fairness and good treatment of people, animals, and nature carries through all the way from beginning to end.
I have a question. Several years ago, it must be when you first opened, I got a chance to go on your farm, and a guy gave us a blueberry trimming class, pruning.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago, yes.
Yeah, and it was hugely helpful. I love that. Is there any chance that you can bring that kind of stuff back? Because for us locals, that I drive by your farm and watch what you guys are doing, and then I know what I have to do at my house. So anything you can bring back would be great.
We have actually a little nonprofit that's kind of a sister nonprofit foundation, and through which we run a lot of educational programs on the farm. Most of our focus has been on kids. So we partner with two of the local elementary schools, both Hopkins Elementary and Mitch Charter School in Tigard-Tualatin District. And their kids, we actually got a Sherwood CEP grant to help fund some of this. Their kids come out to the farm 3 times a year, every single child in the school, and we've built curriculum in conjunction with the teachers that's integrated with their science classes, so that it's really well tied and it meets all the national standards and all of that. And that's been an amazing thing. So I mean, over 5,000 child visits last year alone. So we really kind of focused our educational efforts on kids. We've done a few little things with adults, like the blueberry thing you were talking about. There's a room for a lot more, frankly. Most of the issue is that I don't have the bandwidth, and our lead educator has sadly had some health issues recently, so she's sort of cut back. But I would love to partner with other folks in the community, who may be interested in teaching something and could maybe use the farm as sort of a living classroom rather than us having to produce all the content ourselves. Because I think there's so much knowledge within the community that just needs a forum, through which it can be shared.
So I have a question. Good morning, Narendra. I think the relationship that our table has had with the Hispanic community is interesting, and you might expand on that a little bit. I think that the Hispanic community in agriculture in Oregon is really taken for granted, and the fact that I recall that there was a certain amount of resistance initially on the part of some of the workers who were there to really be part of the co-op, and you might comment on how they've been brought into the co-op and how I think that from my point of view, the outreach of our table to the Hispanic community has been commendable.
Thank you. So, you know, one of the things that when you're in any kind of cooperative decision making, whether you're, I mean, and you know, you guys do this as an organization, whenever you're making any kind of collective decision making, it's not easy, right? We're not that good at it. And one of the things that we discovered trying to formulate this kind of rather strange multi-stakeholder cooperative was that governance was a real challenge in the beginning, especially. And people really just didn't know how to do decision making in a collective way. Now, we do not run ourselves in any kind of weird consensus kind of fashion. We believe we use a governance methodology that comes out of the Netherlands called dynamic governance or sociocracy. And it's a governance model that really kind of tries to separate a hierarchy of power from a hierarchy of domain. And I want to just take a few seconds to explain that because it's important. Generally speaking, in a hierarchical organization, like most of us are used to, power and domain are tied together. So if I'm at the top of the hierarchy, I have the broadest domain and I have all the power. And if you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, you have this very narrow domain that you think about and you have only a little bit of power within there. Dynamic governance tries to separate those two. So in our organization, I am the executive director. I still am at the top of that sort of management hierarchy, and I therefore look at the broadest domain possible. But the power to make decisions within the domains or within sort of a lower domains is all about the people who are actually working in it. And that's not that radical, frankly. You know, we're always being told by people to kind of push control downwards so that the people doing the work who know the system the best can make those decisions. But that's something that's very formalized in our organization because of this system of governance. And what we found is that initially, frankly, the folks who were coming from a more educated, generally college-educated white people background with that sort of more traditional kind of individualistic mindset had the hardest time understanding cooperative decision-making. And our Hispanic workers, who in many cases maybe had a third-grade education, formal education, got it at a far more visceral level because culturally, specifically, I'm talking about first-generation immigrants, okay? Folks who grew up in little villages and things had far more collective decision-making kind of embedded in their cultural program. And as a result, they were far more enthusiastic about like a system which allowed them to have decision-making power and have control over their lives. Now, some of this also might be because, you know, having worked in agriculture in this country, they've kind of been at the bottom of the totem pole. So allowing them a stake in ownership of the company and decision-making at that level of ownership, I think was pretty radical. So we worked very, very hard to try and reach out into that community and to involve that. I mean, I would say over 75% of our staff is of Latino origin, and over 80% of our worker members of our co-op are Latino. And the language is a huge barrier. It's a huge barrier for me. I don't speak Spanish. Many of them are, you know, for them English is their second language. We do a lot of ESL classes. We try as much as we can to have translation services and interpretation during meetings, which can really be difficult for everybody, frankly. Even things like our board meetings, we try and get an interpreter so that people can attend and fully participate. And when people do fully participate, as we all know, you know, everybody has a lot to say and a lot to offer. It's just usually they're silenced by barriers of language or culture. So that's been really an amazing thing to see of how quickly people have really latched on to this idea of collective decision making.
Tim, you're on mute in case you're trying to.
Well, that was embarrassing. Anyways, hey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I've been in your store many times, but I had no idea what was going on around that little store. It's really amazing what you've built out there. And so thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and move on here. All right, so we will go ahead and close out our meeting here. So the next meeting is on not the 15th, it'd be 15 plus 7. You guys can do the math in your head. Or actually, no, 14 plus 14 plus 14.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'll be leading, and Mike, I believe you're going to be doing the inspiration next week.
That is correct.
Yes, so look, I at least got that updated on that slide. So with that, we'll go right into the 4-way test. So everyone go ahead and unmute. All right, I think everybody mostly is unmuted. Here we go. 4-way test of the things we think,
say, or do. First,
First, is it the truth? Second,
Second,
is fair to all concerned. Third, build
goodwill and better
friendships.
Fourth, be
be
beneficial to all
beneficial to all concerned.
I
Thank
still
you
have
all.
to figure out how to sabotage that slide.
Also, guys, we need inspirers for June, so I'll put that in the bulletin. So anybody who is willing to step up for any of the weeks in June, that would be great.
Oh, hey, excellent. Hey, Karen, one other announcement. Bruce, are you still there?
I am.
Bruce, I'm going to add you into the secret coveted program management thread so that you can start following along with John and I, and there'll be no disruptions when we hit July.
That's good. Yeah, I wanted to get a little guidance on that, so that would be great.
I'm going to work on it this weekend for you.
Thanks. Okay, thanks. Bye. Have a great holiday weekend.
Kelly.
Yep, and I'll keep, as usual, I'll keep the meeting open here, and if people want to chit chat or chat or whatever you do.
Send me recordings, Tim.
I'm gonna find those right now.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
So Karen, are you still on?
Hey, Ben, you take care now.
I'm going to. Thank you for the encouragement.
You know, you told that story of the I lived in Marysville, Washington at the time, and I'll never forget. Obviously, everybody remembers where they were when that happened, and it was Sunday morning. And I had a friend in high school who got to have an experience like you did, and he was in a plane somehow. And I remember him sharing pictures that they had taken over Mount St. Helens like a day out. It was still steaming. It was the coolest thing in the world. It was probably one of those things I was probably most jealous of. Like, wow, that was neat. I didn't know there were services like that. I never knew how he got that, but it's just cool.
Yeah, those we took a couple of those flights. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
I'll never forget seeing Spirit Lake with two things. With all of that, I was working in the wood industry at the time, and that just huge amount of timber just floating on the lake. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. And then the shots of the Toutle River and the landslide and flood that had gone through Weyerhaeuser's logging camp, and there were huge trucks and huge pieces of logging equipment just twisted and mangled and thrown down the river like somebody had dumped out their toy box. It was really amazing.
Well, you said something last week before the event, and I actually kind of thought about it. I actually said something to my wife, is you said if the mountain had blown the other side, flipped, what kind of impact it would have had. I never thought of that before.
I was surprised that I didn't get more comments on that, because that we lived outside of Hillsborough at the time, and after one of the minor eruptions, it blew a lot of ash out towards our house. And I woke up in the morning and it was raining, and my car was parked outside, and it had about an inch of ash over the top of it. And it was just amazing to think about what incredible damage. I mean, it's possible that the city of Portland could have been almost wiped out if that had gone the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the wind, wasn't the wind, like I said, I lived up north, but wasn't the wind pattern driving somehow the ash blew, right? Because it all went east so much.
Yeah, it went northeast. We had a customer who was playing golf in Kettle Falls, which is just north in the Okanagan, Okanagan Valley, just south of the Canadian
serve your
border.
family in this way.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, but anyway, they heard the eruption
wow.
up there. I mean, that was.
Wow. Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yep.
All right. Hey, I sold one by your we went. I listed one on Cranium the other day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these smaller farm or size acres, they're just like on fire right now.
Really?
Yeah. It's. I don't even know how to. We got above full price offer, but I mean, I got 2 offers in the weekend. It was a nice house. I mean, it was a beautifully appointed house, but it was like a year ago, those take a little longer to sell. Now they're just.
Were you aware of the piece of land that sold on Roberts Road just recently?
No, but I can look it up. Why?
It's I think it was 11 or 12 acres, something in that neighborhood. And it was considered unbuildable because the county said that they would not issue any more building permits on Roberts Road because of the condition of the road. It's pretty narrow, and we get during the season sometimes Charlie's Produce will come up here with a semi, and it's a little daunting to meet a semi on Roberts Road. But anyway, this piece of land was on the market. It was listed and it was on the market for maybe 2 weeks, something like that. There's 11 acres and it sold for, I think, over $800,000. $850,000 was the asking price, which makes me feel pretty good if I didn't have to live here.
Yeah, I would say escalating prices don't do anything for you if you're staying in town or staying around here.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't help a bit. Makes you feel good, but doesn't do anything for you.
That's right.
I put one on. This was further south. I put one on yesterday, and the house is a plain Jane 1975 house, just a little 1,500 square foot, cadet heaters in there, and 1 acre parcel on Dayton Avenue, which is just on the other side of 99, across from Duck Pond.
Yeah.
We put it on for $399.9, kind of pushing it. 6 months ago when we comped it out, it was $50,000. Got 5 showings lined up today. I put it on at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Like, okay. Crazy. Maybe everybody wants, anybody with acreage, this COVID thing, everybody wants to be away from everybody else.
Well, we've hardly been impacted by it, with the exception of certain beautification problems. But I've got lots to do here. Sandy's got lots to do. We've been in and out a lot, but never left the place. So.
Well, I thought this morning's speaker is kind of cool. I've been in there one time, but I've never really kind of known what they did back there.
Yeah.
What do you sell your nuts and stuff down through there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And they have a flower, and I was on the board for a couple of years.
Wow. Yeah, I've gone in there one time, you know, because didn't really know that much about it. I was just exploring a year or so ago and bought some stuff, but I really didn't know the extent. I just looked up his website. He had a lot going on, and a lot of stuff you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everybody. I'm out of here. You all take care of yourself.
Good, there's work to do.
Thanks, you too.
Bye, everybody.
So long, Gary. Bye, Tim.
See ya. Tim's just a picture.